So I was just looking at myself in the trailer for that new documentary, Supply, and I was looking, whoa, who's that old tired guy? Just the fatigue was just jumping off the screen. And as you get older, for a lot of us, it gets harder to sleep, and the shape of your face changes, and you don't breathe as well at night. You get obstructive sleep apnea. I got mild to moderate sleep apnea, and so you try to use a CPAP to control things. But anyway, the basic fact is that for a lot of people, getting the 40s and 50s becomes harder to sleep, and as things become harder to sleep, then obviously you're just going to often drag through the day. You're not going to have the energy, and when you don't have the energy and you don't have the sleep, your willpower falls, so you're not as likely to get the exercise you need, not as likely to eat well and to take care of yourself in various ways. So notice what you like when you're tired. Do you really want to give to other people? Are you a happy person to be around? Do other people find you a joy? Are you patient and tolerant when you're tired? No. And it's similar when people simply don't connect normally with other people. They just walk around with this big gaping hole in their psyche. And you can tell them, oh, don't be so self-centered, or you should engage in volunteer activities, or you should try to care more about other people. But with this big gaping wound in their psyche, they're not so likely to be able to do those things, because they're so broken that, just like when you don't have any sleep, if you don't have much connection, you're going to be warped by the experience. And so I was just thinking about hiding, that if you don't get enough sleep, all right, you're not going to want to be positively visible, much less likely. If you don't get enough sleep, you're going to be much less likely to want to connect to other people. If you don't get enough sleep, you're going to be much less likely to be successful at connecting with other people. Don't get enough sleep, you're much less likely to enjoy the company of other people. If you don't get enough sleep, you're much less likely to want to volunteer. And the same thing if you don't have much connection with other people. You're going to be less likely to seek out connection. You're going to be less likely to be adept at connecting and bonding with other people. You're going to be less likely to be able to resist your destructive impulses, your general weirdness that develops whenever a person becomes isolated. You're going to be less likely to be able to keep your instincts under control. You'll notice, if you've had times in your life when you've had friends, that you've been much less likely to get into trouble, presuming that they're decent people, right? You find it much easier to keep all sorts of your basic instincts under control when you have family, when you have bonds, when you have connection. You're much less likely to spin out of control, chasing sex, chasing drugs, alcohol, being an excessive miser, a workaholic. Moderating your basic tendencies just becomes much easier. And on the other hand, when your basic instincts get out of whack, instincts for love, for sex, for attention, for fame, fortune, honor, material possessions, when those instincts get out of whack and you start destroying your relationships in just the blind pursuit of your basic instincts, other people are going to retaliate. they're going to lash back at you if you cheat them in a deal, if you're an unreliable friend, if you're a person who says hateful, hurtful comments, if you make other people feel unsafe, if you make other people feel that you're not trustworthy. They're going to retaliate, and in exchange, you're going to become increasingly isolated, resentful, angry, ticked off, chip on your shoulder, looking to get even, looking to retaliate, which then just provokes a destructive downward spiral. And I was just thinking about my life when I was leading all these different lives at the same time. And it was exhausting, and so I didn't want to be positively visible much of the time. Yeah, there was like this desperate attention seeking going on, but I wasn't able to be positively visible in a way that was congruent with who I really was, with my best interests, with my best self. So I was just all out of whack. So poverty is a disease of hiding. Okay. Lack of accomplishment, if you're a smart person, it's a disease of hiding. Inability to bond, okay, disease of hiding. And why do we hide? Because things happen in our childhood, or we're born with certain genetic predispositions where we're just limping through life, the walking wounded. And how does a wounded animal respond? They hide. And if you try to bring a wounded animal out into the sunshine, they will bite you. Same too with people. Meet someone who doesn't have any friends, feel bad for them, try to bring them into the sunlight, they're going to bite you. They're not comfortable with human connection, with friendship, with reciprocity. They're going to burn you, they're going to bite you, because they're just so fundamentally ill at ease with themselves that they can't stand to be known to other people. So when you encounter someone who says that he's a very private person, that means I don't trust others. Okay, that's what it means. I just don't trust others. You're dealing with someone who's broken, got this enormous wound in their psyche, and yeah, very private person almost always is a tip-off for a person you're not going to be able to connect with. This is not a person who's able to sustain relationships. This is a person going to use every trick and tool at their disposal to keep you at bay, because they don't want to be known. And on the other hand, think about people who are basically happy with life, enjoy life, look forward to each day that comes along. For these people, it's just really natural to help other people. You'll just see them, they're just very generous. Think about generous people you know, they're almost always happy people. So you can't take someone with that broken psyche, with those gaping psychic wounds, and just tell them, oh, go be generous and then you'll be happy, like Joe over there who's generous and happy. No, generosity is a reflection of the basic happiness. Okay, the happiness comes before the generosity overwhelmingly. So yeah, it's possible for a very sick person to be generous, and it might increase their happiness level, but it's not sustainable. So that's why take a broken, wounded, narcissistic, selfish, self-centered, egotistical, dishonest person, doesn't have many friends, not succeeding at life, stuck in poverty, underachieving, not able to sustain his place in any sort of community, and tell them, oh, go be generous. It's just not going to work. Man, I was wanting to give you a whole new cinematic experience, but when I put my phone on the dashboard, it overheats. So it's 93 degrees outside. So if I was to put my phone on the dashboard to give you brand new cinematic experience, which I'm preparing to do, I bought the phone holder to provide this brand new cinematic experience. Can't do it on these hot days in Los Angeles. So yeah, the way we move from hiding and biting to shining and receiving is, it's not through force of will. It's not going to do it. Going out and getting a volunteer position is not going to do it. Reading self-help books generally is not going to do it. Therapy, generally speaking, is not going to do it. It's recognition that you've got this deep wound, that your life's out of whack, that you're not connecting to your best self, you're not at ease with yourself, you're not at ease with other people. And recognizing that problem is step one, that your life is out of whack, it's out of control in some ways. Because if you're behaving dishonestly in parts of your life, you're not really going to be geared up to be shining and receiving and living a life of positive visibility. If you're leading multiple contradictory lives, you've got not just a double life, but a triple life, okay? You're going to be so tired from that burden that shining and receiving is not going to come effortlessly to you. So you have to help a person to become at ease with himself, with God, and with other people. So the way the 12 steps work is, first 3 steps, connecting to your higher power, recognizing you have a problem, recognizing that God will provide a solution, and that a higher power is what you need. And step 3 is turning your life over to that higher power. And so if you say you got a gambling addiction, you might just want to turn over that part of your life that has to do with gambling to God, but that's not going to cut it. You're going to have to turn over the whole damn thing. You're going to have sustainable recovery and move into being visible, like letting your gifts show. If you have the gift of the gab, then stream on YouTube. Okay? If you're a writer, then you write. If you're a painter, you paint. If you're a dancer, you dance. I remember in 7th grade, the teacher could see that I had the gift of the gab, that I was gregarious, and so she tried to get me into acting. We were doing a school play, and so she suggested that I try out for the lead role, and I just wasn't up for that. I just sabotaged that. So I eventually got a non-speaking role, I think as one of the 3, as a shepherd or one of the 3 wise men or something like that, because I just couldn't take being that visible. And that's one of the primary symptoms of hiding, is that when you engage in something that you want to engage in, and that you probably have a good idea that you have a gift for, and then the energy just cuts out, say it's taking an acting class or a writing class or a dance class or going to some new social engagement or going to a networking event, all these things that require a little more visibility, and then when the time comes for you to be more visible, you get a disabling headache, you don't feel good, you just find ways to prevent yourself from becoming visible. You just don't know why the energy cuts out. You might sign up for this amazing writing class, but you might even go to the writing class, you might even do the assignments. I found this. I invested in this class to do a one-man play, and I was there every class. Okay, I showed up, I kind of did the assignments, but part of me just wouldn't allow myself to shine, to flourish. I was not ready to be that visible. So the teacher gave all sorts of directions, and I was only able to implement a few of them. I wasn't really ready to stretch to that kind of visibility. So I just couldn't find it within myself to follow the directions, to follow the path, to follow her guidelines for how to succeed with creating a one-man play. So I did a mediocre one-man play. It's called Eroticized Rage. You can find it on YouTube. But I think I spent $2,500 for the course at a time when I had $50,000 in credit card debt. And it was just shocking to me how little of the teacher's directions I was able to implement into my life. So like, what held me back from following the teacher's directions? I'd signed up for the class, I went to the class, I was able to do some of the things that she said, but I wasn't really able to take things to the next level. I wasn't able to succeed in a big way because I had this thing kind of stop me from stepping up. Like the energy cut out when it was asked of me that I leave my comfort zone. For some reason, I just wasn't prepared to leave my comfort zone. So if you find your energy or your willpower just cuts out when you need to leave your comfort zone so that you can grow, you can have more success, then again, it's an indication of this psychic wound, this desire to hide, which just creates a life where you're essentially living in a prison, and you're not giving to the world what you're capable of because you're basically not interested in being of service to other people, because you've got this big old psychic wound, and so you can't really think about others because you're in so much pain. And so I finally got some help entering some 12-step programs. Because on my own, I couldn't fix this thing. Okay, on my own, my willpower, not enough. Didn't cut it. So, your energy cuts out when it's time for you to step up, to leave your comfort zone. And you just can't pull through certain things. Just might have a disease that's preventing you from shining and receiving.